When did you first hear about Nick Zhao?
I heard about Nick Zhao several months ago.
What did you hear?
I heard that he was a 32-year-old Melbourne resident, cultivated by the Chinese government to run as a Liberal Party candidate in the Commonwealth Parliament, and Nick Zhao is now dead.
Federal MP Andrew Hastie chairs the Parliamentary Joint Committee on Intelligence and Security. He's been briefed on the suspicious circumstances surrounding the death of Nick Zhao, including allegations he was targeted by a Chinese spy ring.
It was surreal. It was like something out of a spy novel, happening in Melbourne with impunity, and very, very concerning.
Nick Zhao projected an image of success, flush with cash, fast cars and big plans to expand his auto business. In 2015, he joined the Liberal Party in the East Melbourne seat of Chisholm.
He was a paid-up member, which means he was likely active in his branch and division.
I love Chisholm.
The seat is currently held by Australia's first Chinese-born female MP, Gladys Liu.
We used to live here.
In September, she faced accusation she was a Manchurian candidate, planted by the Chinese Communist Party. The Prime Minister defended her.
I applaud the member for Chisholm. She's a great Australian who deserves to be in this House.
The story generated plenty of smoke, but very little fire. But something far more sinister had been happening in her electorate. We can reveal that prior to his death, Liberal Party member Nick Zhao claims to have been approached in Melbourne by a suspected Chinese spy ring and offered an extraordinary assignment. The young father was promised a seven-figure sum in exchange for him running as a political candidate in federal parliament.
Nick himself, I think, was a perfect target for cultivation. A guy who was a bit of a high roller in Melbourne, living beyond his means, someone who was vulnerable to a foreign state intelligence service cultivating.
This case, with strong and clinical allegations and evidence of an actual plot to infiltrate our parliament, seems to go much further than anything we've heard to date. How important, how different, how serious is it?
Well, this isn't just cash in a bag, given for favours. This is a state-sponsored attempt to infiltrate our parliament using an Australian citizen and basically run them as an agent of foreign influence in our democratic system. So this is really significant, and Australians should be very, very concerned about this.
Sources say the suspected Chinese spy ring that targeted Nick Zhao is under investigation by ASIO. We can expose the identity of the man who, according to Nick Zhao, told him to infiltrate our parliament. His name is Brian Chen, and our investigation shows he appears to be a busy Chinese businessman who bounces between Melbourne and Asia. But when he last passed through Melbourne Airport, he was interrogated by Australian authorities and accused of being a spy. In Hong Kong, we tracked down his office. Corporate records confirm he's in business with the Chinese military's main weapons company, Norinco. What does his profile tell us about his likely connection to Chinese military intelligence?
It just looks like a trail across the sky, from my point of view.
Australian intelligence expert Philip Gregory says there are several red flags about Brian Chen's behaviour, which would have attracted ASIO's attention.
As an analyst, the first thing I would be doing is targeting this guy for a disruption operation, or looking to recruit him.
It seems Nick Zhao was concerned about Brian Chen too. He never followed through on Chen's alleged request to infiltrate our parliament. Instead, his associates have told us he turned to Australia's national security agency, ASIO, for help.
Was Nick Zhao working for ASIO?
I'm not going to go into the details of what I know. That would be improper.
We contacted Brian Chen and asked him if he knew Nick Zhao. He denied it. He also insists he's just a businessman who's been unfairly questioned by Australian authorities. But for a businessman, Brian Chen's denials are curious. For instance, he's been seen wearing a Chinese military uniform, but he says he simply likes to show off by dressing up in a costume. We asked him why he sometimes poses as a journalist at international conferences. He says it's because he simply likes to network. No one knows why Nick Zhao was found dead in a Melbourne motel room 8 months ago. There is no suggestion Brian Chen is involved. But whether it was natural causes, suicide or something more sinister, his death means he'll never repeat his allegations about the offer to infiltrate our parliament.
Everyone should be concerned about the way that Nick Zhao died, and I think we need a full investigation where we turn over every stone, we explore every nook and cranny, we cast as much light into the shadows and make sure that we have a full and comprehensive understanding of how he died and why he died.